The decision to go on a mission,
Mm-hmm.
was that an easy decision to make, or did it come with some, concern?
I made that decision a long time ago. And so, for me, the decision was not whether or not I should go on a mission. I always knew, like, I'm going to go on a mission. The decision was for me at what time. And so I thought about it a lot, and I prayed about it. And, I wanted to kind of start off on my own before I went on my mission. I was just graduating high school. I wanted to go off with some friends to college for a little bit. I had a girlfriend, all that stuff. I didn't want to leave right away. But I really had the feeling that I needed to go. And I needed to go when I did. The timing was, I think, exactly right. Exactly how it was supposed to be. And I'll give you an example of this. I was just called up to a new area up around Hamburg. And I had been there for 3 days, and I broke my ankle playing soccer. And it was a really bad break. I had to get surgery on it, and I wasn't going to be able to walk for at least 6 weeks. I was really worried about that, and I thought I was going to get sent home early. And my mission president called me up, and he said, "Hey, I've talked to the church doctors, and I've discussed it with the office here, and we decided that you can either go home or you can come and work with us in the mission office in Berlin." And I did not want to go home, so I went to work in the mission office. And I got there, and I wasn't sure why I had been sent there, but I wanted to find out. And I wanted to find out why I had to break my leg and everything. And I wanted to turn it into something good. The first week that I was there, and that I went to church, was also the first week that this member brought his friend to church. And I came in there with my crutches, and his father was also on crutches. And so he looked at me, and he said, "Hey, I have a friend now." And we were crutch buddies there. And so we talked, and afterwards he said, "Hey, my son brought his friend, will you teach him?" And I started teaching his friend, and he was the most prepared person I've ever met. And he got baptized within 2 months, and he's still going strong today.
How'd you pick up the language? How did that go?
I just tried as much as I could to talk to people and do everything. I had also a good trainer who helped me, who gave me chances to speak, and then we studied together, and then we would try and learn take what we studied and use it when we were talking to people.
What was the hardest thing on your mission to get through?
The hardest thing, I'd say, was becoming friends with a German person, because they're very, very tight and a little closed up. But once you become their friends, you're friends forever. But it's pretty difficult to get to that point. And until you are at that point where they can trust you, it's really hard for them to open up and everything, and for them to share what they're feeling.
Germans are generally what religion do they mostly?
It depends on where you are. In the south, they're primarily Catholic. In the central and western regions, they're Protestant. And then in East Germany, where I was for most of my mission, they're atheist.
Name some of the cities you served in.
Okay. I served in a city called Leer. It's up by the border of Holland and the North Sea. I served in Freiberg. That's where our temple is. I served in Dresden, in Erfurt, in Hamburg, and in Berlin. My first area up in Leer was very, very rural. It's a smaller city. I think there are more cows around there than people. And yeah, it was smaller, but I still liked it. And then when I was serving in bigger cities like Dresden or Berlin, that was very, very urbanized, very, very modernized, and there was a big difference. A lot of people came to study from China and from that area, and then a lot of people from South America as well and from Africa come to study. And then there are also a lot of refugees there. Germany, while I was there, took in over 1 million refugees from the Middle East in that area. And yeah, they all come. And for a lot of these people, it's a really great experience for them to to experience this different culture, a European Western culture. But it's also really the only way that they could ever learn about the church and the gospel, because where they're living, it's forbidden to talk about Jesus Christ or to have missionaries. So, and a lot of them are very humbled because of their circumstance, especially the refugees, and they're very open to hear something new that might help them and better their lives.
How about the culture, the food, the differences? What stands out?
It's a very similar culture to here, but it's just different in its own way. There's just the small differences in the culture. People there are very, very direct, and they're not afraid to offend anyone, and they'll let you know that right at the beginning. That's probably the biggest difference in the culture that I noticed. It's also very, very old. Here, we see things if they're 200 years old as being old, but for them things aren't old until they're about 400 or 500 years old. Well, I definitely I feel like I've become a lot more mature than before. Before I left, I don't know, I didn't take a lot of things seriously. I like to joke around and everything, and I still do like to joke around, but I know now when to take things seriously and when it's a good time to joke and laugh and everything. I found there can be a fine line at times, and it's really important to keep that. I also learned how to be on my own, how to live and survive without mom around the corner to do the laundry and cooking and everything, and that helped. I definitely learned to appreciate America a little more, and to appreciate how great it is that we have a country like this. I was kind of expecting that, I don't know why, but I was expecting that everything would kind of just stay still and not change a whole lot while I was gone. Like the rest of the world would just be on pause for 2 years. And when I got home, I learned really fast that that's not at all what happened. Everybody still moved on with their lives. It really made me aware of a lot of the trials and problems that are going on in the world right now.
Is it like specifically like with the refugee
exactly,
issues?
Yeah, specifically with the situation in the Middle East. I met people who watched as their family got gunned down, or I met a man who walked to Germany from a small African country called Eritrea, and he walked the whole way, all the way up through the Middle East, over through Turkey, and all the way to Germany, thousands of miles, just to get to a place where he could be safe. And it's incredible, the stories that these people have. And it really made me aware that the rest of the world isn't just like how it is in America or in Germany, how we we can live in peace. There's a lot of turmoil and a lot of suffering.
How about success? How did you measure success on the mission?
I measured success by how I felt at the end of the day. If at the end of the day I felt like I had done everything I could, then that was a good day and I felt successful. In our mission, we average about 150 baptisms a year. So compared to missions in South America or in Africa right now, there were not that many baptisms. And it's about 1 to 2 baptisms per companionship per year is the average. Well, for me, it taught me why I was there. That I wasn't just there to go and come home and say that I baptized 20 people or whatever. It taught me that I was there to do the work of the Lord in that area, the work that He needed me to do.
So what was your typical day like?
Get up at 6:30, do some morning exercises, get ready for the day, and start studies at 10, or at 8, not at 10. Study until 10. Then we would go outside for a while, and we would usually go and try and talk to people on the street, go street contacting. And that was usually really successful. People were a lot more open to do that and talk to us on the street than they usually were in their homes. And then we would usually have 2 appointments per day 1 or 2 a day. And so, and yeah, we would go and we teach. It was either with members or with investigators, and yeah, didn't do a whole lot of dooring because
Oh, really?
No.
So okay. So how about then your typical street contact?
Street approach, okay. Hallo, Entschuldigung, mein Kollege und ich sind von der Kirche Jesu Christi unterwegs. Wir sprechen ganz kurz über die Familie. Hätten Sie also, ja, was bedeutet Ihnen Ihre Familie? I felt very confident with the language. I know I still have an American accent. I don't think it'll ever go away.
Yeah.
But I felt really confident with the language. I had learned it really well.
So you said was it your mom's ancestry that comes from Germany?
Yes.
Did any of that ever come into up or did you ever feel like you've gone back to your ancestral lands to do some good there or something?
Near the end it did, because at the end of my mission, our mission president gave everyone permission to do 1 hour of family history work on Sundays. And so I started doing that, and I started to find these ancestors and find out where they're from. And I found some names that I could take to the temple. And then at the end of my mission, during that last week, I was able to go and visit the temple and do the work for these ancestors that I found there. And that was really special for me.
What is it you think you're really going to miss?
I'll miss the people. You know, like I said before, it's hard to become friends with a German, but once you're friends, like, you're really friends. These people, I love them so much. I'm going to miss them. I already do. Yeah. It's going to be the hardest part. I mean, food is, it's good, but it's just food.
How long were you laid up with the ankle?
Too long. Yeah, I was in the hospital for 5 days at first when I broke it. Then when I got out, I was on crutches for 6 weeks. And, well, during the first surgery, they put in a metal plate and 9 different screws holding it in. And after 6 weeks, they were going to take out 1 screw. I went to get this screw taken out, and they did the surgery, and I came back to the doctors the next day to do a checkup, and it had become infected. And they tried to fight the infection, but it just spread too fastly and was growing, and so I had to go back to the hospital. And I went back for 18 days.
To the hospital?
Yeah.
With just your ankle broken?
I was in the hospital for 18 days.
Because you couldn't put any weight on it at all?
It was because of the infection.
Oh, the infection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how are German hospitals?
They're interesting. I don't have a lot of experience with American hospitals, but in Germany, all the hospital rooms are shared, so you don't have your own private room, and then the fact that everything was in German, those were the biggest differences.
Did you manage to get some missionary work in?
I did get some missionary work in.
Did they leave you companionless, or did he have to come to your...
No, they left me companionless. But yeah, both times I was in the hospital, I was able to give away Book of Mormons to my roommates and to talk to the nurses about it and everything, about the gospel.
What's the bigger picture? What did that really teach you, do you think?
That taught me that the Lord keeps his promises. And he does it in his own way. I was promised a lot of things before I left on my mission, through blessings from my father, through a patriarchal blessing, everything. And I was coming near the end of my mission, and I didn't feel like any of them had come true yet. And I was down on myself for that. I thought, man, I must not be a good missionary. I must not be doing what I'm supposed to, because none of these things are happening like I was promised. And then after breaking the leg, every single blessing, every single promise that was made to me was fulfilled. Completely and very literally. And it was incredible.
So what changed?
It was just, I think it was just my attitude and the timing of it all. And I think that's just how God wanted it to happen.
I suppose it was a bit humbling, of
It
course.
was very humbling, yeah.
How else do you think you changed? You didn't grow any taller, did you?
I did not grow any taller. No, not in stature, but in testimony. That's been the biggest change for sure. That I really got to know my Savior on my mission. Yeah, my testimony grew a lot. And that growth came, of course, from studying it, from studying the gospel more regularly and more thoroughly every day. But the biggest thing was from sharing it. It's often said that when we share our testimony, it grows. And I know that's true, because during those 2 years, my testimony grew so much. And I know it's because I was sharing it every day. And as I shared it, it got stronger and stronger, and I felt better and better about it. And yeah.
And what was it like coming home?
It was unreal. I did not feel like I was going home until I saw my mom. It really just felt like a really, really long transfer.
And what's it been like now that you've been home a week?
It's been a little weird, but I feel like I'm adjusting well, getting back into things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The weirdest part has been being alone, not having a companion with you the whole time. When I first came, I was going to go somewhere with my dad, and we went outside to get in the car, and then he said, "Wait, I forgot something," and went back inside. And he just left me there alone, and I freaked out a little bit and ran back inside. And I said, "Dad, you left me alone. What's up?" And he said, "Oh, you don't have to be alone. You don't have to be with somebody anymore." And that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's been the weirdest thing.
How has your family changed?
Has my family changed? My brothers have gotten a lot taller and bigger. But really, I feel like we're a lot closer. Like there's a lot more love in the family now than there was before. I think the family got closer because they had something to come together on, and that was me leaving.
What's the future looking like?
It's looking good, and bright. Yeah.
And you plan on doing what in the future?
In the future, I want to study. I'm going to be going down to BYU pretty soon, and I am going, to work. And
You have a job lined up?
Mm-hmm.
Doing what?
Right now, I have a job, actually with my dad in his office. He got me a job, and then when I'm down in Provo, I want to look for a job speaking German, and I found one with doTERRA. They need German customer service agents, German speaking, and I want to do that. I had a pretty big aha moment, a couple of them actually, on my mission, where I just looked back at my life before and I realized how dumb I was, and how all the mistakes I made, and how I resolved then to change that. And then a couple months later, I'd look back at the past couple months of my mission and realize, man, I was dumb. Now I'm better, and I've learned from that. And then it happened over and over again. And I'm sure that's going to keep happening in life as I go on, that I'll look back and say and see, wow, you were dumb back then. But it's just, this life is just about progress, and always continually becoming better. I was in the car with my brother, driving him to his football practice, and he was talking to me about some stuff in his life and everything, and I was talking to him, and he just looked at me and he said, "Chase, when did you change so much? When did you get so wise?" is what he said. And I just told him, missions do that to you.
And you loved it?
I loved it. Every moment, even the hard ones.
Because?
Because it's what I was supposed to do. It's what the Lord needed me to do. And so even when it was hard, I felt Him holding me up.